And here we are for another live show from your Happy Healer. I am Keith Landi. Today's date is August 8th, 2019, and we are here serious talking about the issues that matter. Let me tell you something. When you have lived a diverse life like I have, and you have seen life from all angles, you've had the opportunity to see people in their good times, their bad times, the ugliness, full complete. And that's a great asset if you really want to get into the mind of the human being. And your Happy Healer, his 40 years of life on this earth has been nothing but getting into the minds of folks because he wants to learn about humanity. That's our reason for being here, to get closer to humanity, to get closer to who we are on the inside and what matters most. You better believe that's exactly what we're doing here on this show. Every single time we come on, we're doing so much more than running for president. We're running for a better world. We're running for you, the conservative. We're running for you, the liberal. We're running for humanity. Make no mistake about it. On the right, they want to give you ideas that just seem to give so much greed and power to just a few people. And on the left, it's no different. And well, we know that so clearly. I'm running as a Democrat, and let's make it clear right now. The reason why I am a Democrat running for president is because I know I have to take out the Democrats before I could take out Trump. You see? We're smart like that. We get that. And I also know that so many people who supported Trump are just like me. They are nimble for the truth. And people who are Democrats, they are so ready for a change. You have to have somebody in there that can actually grab the bull by the horn and do what's right, and that they won't move for the wrong things, that they won't get into power and give in to greed, because that's what they all do, folks. That's the mistake they make over and over and over again. You have to be confident that the person that you're putting in that position won't do that. When I take office, which I have every intention of taking office, we will do what we must. I will use the best and the brightest minds, including I anticipate printing money. Let's just say that. This will make the tax burden less on my conservative friends who are also concerned about that. And the American business, in my estimation, will increase, and the stock that we place in the human value in America, I honestly don't think we will see the dollar weaken at all, to be honest. I believe this action will be a strengthening action, one that will actually strengthen our dollar and the entire country, moreover. And it'll make it more efficient. We're going to be getting needless cars off the road, people that are filling up the roadways and dying on the road consequently, because there are just so many people on the roads, and they don't even have to be on the roads. They're not producing anything. They're just justification of a paycheck, as I love to call it, so truthfully so. And I know so many business owners out there, and they're the same thing. There's no difference. There are so many people, they will not give in 1 inch. Forget about paid holidays or leave time or any of that stuff. They want their time, don't they? And, you know, by the time you do get any of that stuff, it's so short-lived and goes so quick, you still can't pursue any of your goals. They call it a sabbatical. After you give a company 10 years of your life, then they'll give you 8 weeks back. Yeah, you know what that is? That's a trade-off. And it's a compromise we don't have to make. It's a compromise we could do so much better in. Rest assured, in the new world, we will, in the new America that we're building. Because make no mistake, man, we need a new world. Make no mistake, the world that we're in right now just isn't working for the people. That's why you see so many people that are in despair at the moment. That's why your Happy Healer, which I am always doing stuff to help lift man up around me. I do my part in my own neck of the woods. I hope you're doing the same. And I have right now, as it is, a house guest. You know, I had one just a month ago. It's how we lift people up in our own lives. It's the priority. And the human being should be on the agenda. And in my campaign, it's the top priority. In all the other campaigns, it's sadly so that the human being continues to not even matter at all. and they'll never matter. So these problems that we're experiencing, the problems with the shootings and all of that, it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay there because you don't matter. They prove it over and over again, and I know you know this. When you make the human being in America finally matter, watch out to see all of the great things that come from your trust in your happy healer. I have seen so much in the last 4 decades of my life, and I know these answers are the right ones. I know they are the right ones. We have to use our clout and our riches in a way that we have never had the courage or the sense or the vision to do before. And while we're at it, we can rise the spectra in the American spirit, which is now sadly so sick. And it's the responsible thing to do. It's the thing that we would do for our children and our families to make sure that they have their needs and their sustenance. That's how we have to treat each other. And all of this greed and the untold death and struggling that comes from it, they don't talk about it. They're things you take for granted. You should not accept all that you see on the daily basis, the things that you witness. And in the future, you won't have to with a happy healer presidency, because we are going to be addressing those things once and for all. How many presidents and how many politicians have time and time again promised the American people to do better? They haven't. They could essentially take these guys from the past and put them right here, right now, and you wouldn't know the difference. They sound alike. The times even though there's 20 years in between, they're still fighting for the same things. And those things are wrong. That's why they're still fighting for them, because they're so incredibly wrong. Vote for your happy healer, and we can do this. And you support your neighbors. You be the change that we must see in order for any of this to happen. We have no choice, folks. This is the work we must do to meet the challenges of our time. My fellow brothers and sisters, my fellow Americans, now is the time we enter the future, folks. This is the time. If we don't take advantage of the time when we are in it, then we are going to pay for this and other measures, and how we pay for it, and our income for all, and how we pay for that, and our health care for all, and our education that starts young and never stops, and how we pay for that. That should be on our minds. And I'll tell you what, we just talked about it. We're going to pay for it by printing money. We're going to pay for it by taking care of folks the same way they did when they bailed the banks out. We're going to do it the same way they did then, and we're going to do other measures too. We're going to bring people together, and we're also going to raise taxes on the rich. You better believe it, because they have to pay their fair share. But let me explain to you how it works. We have to make an investment in our people. There's no two ways about it. We've virtually invested in everything else but the people. And it's the people that can actually raise the specter of the human spirit and solve these problems we're dealing with. All will be served when we do that. So we make that investment. We do it with courage. We do it because it's the right thing to do. And we will ultimately all benefit from that. We will never want to go back to the days where we weren't doing that. And when we are in that world, there will be none of us who want to go back to the days where we were not in that world. I'm so confident of this because I know what it will do. It will set people off on that level field, that level area. People don't want to be singled out for being horrible. They don't want to. And in this world, they're often not singled out anyway. They're the ones singling out the other people, saying, oh, well, you know what? So I can feel better about the whole situation. You're trash. You don't work. You don't have a job. You're not capable. You could have done it. Look, I did it. You didn't do it. So tough on you. Yeah, we know you're dying on the street, but that's okay because you didn't do like how I did. They justify it, and it's wrong. And I have some programs I'm actually working on that are going to be talking about this. There's a piano man in 2015, and some of you might remember this. He played for the football game. And one of the beautiful things about that story is that he was actually just a homeless guy. And he was playing on the streets, and he got discovered because They had this artistic piano set up, and he was able to actually step in on that, and he played the piano so well, and the news was there, and it had caught him, and it was so beautiful. And the fact that he was able to garner so much attention from that, because nobody expected that beautiful playing out of him. But let me tell you, these people that are homeless, they are talented, and they have the hugest hearts, and they could do so much, and yet they just have to deal with the headaches and the problems that life throws them. It's just like me dealing with this snaggletooth, and then I can't get my speech out like I normally do. So it's just the way we get doled for having loving hearts. And then those guys from the condescending places from way up there, they look way down here at us and they say, well, that's your own fault. But they are wrong, and we know they are wrong. And so instead of accepting that, we'll just call them out. And we'll do it with courage. And we'll say, we love you. We love you. You are wrong. You know you're wrong. I know you're wrong. The whole world knows you are wrong. And the idea about this is to change. We're not telling you to write a big fat check. We already know you never will anyway. Okay? That's a foolish man's game right there, to wait for a check that's never coming. No, you just get to work and you do the hard work for the people. You do it for the right reasons. And you greedy bastards, you start changing. And be willing to change. Don't tell me you're for God, but yet you justify the guy who's on the street dying. Or that you justify no health care for your fellow citizens because, oh, well, the money. Give me a break. And I will hold the moral high ground on this. I'm not going to have these conservatives come and tell me about how, oh, well, you're killing the babies. No, not this sucker. Sorry. Okay? So I want you to come at me with that, because we're going to hold you accountable, especially the conservatives on this. And I have my Democrats, and we have to hold you guys accountable on some things too. But the conservatives, guys, you're so quick to just pull that greed card out and you don't even see it. You have to realize what you're doing. It's not beautiful. It's so ugly. It's so completely ugly, so thoroughly ugly to your bone. Stop it. You're making us look bad. It's like I said in a previous video, you're like family to me, and family sometimes says, get your act together. Yeah, get your act together. I'm not interested in your greed. It's selfless. It's pointless. And it's selfish. So stop that. This is going to be a hard working campaign all the way to the end. Let me tell you, I am up for that work. I am up for the challenge. I look forward to the hard challenge. I look forward to going around the country talking and making the case to the American people about the things that we're working for. I actually look forward to it. I look forward to being the president and not even governing so much from Washington, D.C., because we have so much work to do. The people are where the work gets done. We have to change the people. We'll probably have homeless days for the White House. The president's not in town. Why not? This is my vision of the presidency. And it's about raising the human spirit. It's so important. If we don't get to that work now, guys, we really are just straightening the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. And in this sense, the metaphorical Titanic would be the United States of America. We don't have forever to get these things right. Humanity is falling apart very quickly. And you see it happening all over. But yet people with their greed, they're hanging on to it so hard. But they're not going to let this continue, folks. You've seen we've had the movements, and that there's so many of them. Everything from the Tea Party, which is on the right, all the way to Occupy Wall Street. And do you think it ends there? They're all focused on this. But they keep tricking you, and you keep going for it. But not in this campaign. I'll just remind you, and I'll unite you, because we need to be united. And I'll say sorry if I hurt your feelings. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. Well, maybe I am, but I'm not trying to hurt you in a perpetual way. I'm trying to make you better. It's a loving thing, really. Because if you don't realize how ugly you are, someone ought to tell you. It's just like if you had a big booger hanging out of your nose. Wouldn't you want someone to say, hey, that big old snot, it's in your nose right there. You might want to get rid of it. And people are embarrassed so quickly and so easily. To me, I have no reason to be embarrassed. I'm a product of God. What you see here, this is a product of God. I have nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm doing his work. I'd be embarrassed if I was doing like how all these greedy bastards are doing. Then I would be embarrassed. And I can't do it. I've already said, I know that about me. I can't do it. So instead, we go a different way. We'll fix the problem. If we want to do big things in life, we got to fix problems, not cause them. And that's what you see. People running straight to their greed, doing as much as they can to get whatever they can. And you better believe that they have so many victims. You don't get to have much in America unless you're willing to knock the next guy over real hard. Make sure they don't get back up again. And it's all legal. And that's why we'll be talking about Neil Paulson in my campaign. He is a very bad dude. He ran for mayor in Orlando, failed. Good. God is watching. And also he ran for agriculture commissioner of the state of Florida, and was doing well until the news got on his case about stealing $21.4 million from our veterans, the people who protect our freedoms. These are patriots. And the guy that was the pianist, he was a veteran, but then now on the streets, the people who serve this country the most. How disgusting. Unconscionable. How many people have walked past him and called him a bum, but yet it was his fighting for our freedoms that we get to enjoy every day? Wrong. And we're calling it out in this campaign, and we'll continue calling it out. And that's why it's so important we remain an active campaign no matter what, and we will. Biases blind. They blind you. And these biases that you have, folks, they're so blinding to the real problems that we're all facing. Don't let your biases rob this future from your parents. That's right, I said from your parents, because we can make this true for them, and we can make it true so fast. So we won't even say from your children, but for them too. In the new world, kids will matter so much, but so will adults. And that's so important. And that's what I tell my conservative friends. Yes, children matter. I agree. Babies matter. I agree. They're part of humanity. They're part of this precious gift of life that God sends us, the constant stream of humanity. But what good is it when they get here, they have no health care and no reason to live? And you make it that way. It doesn't have to be that way. Stop it with that. It doesn't have to be that way. We are the richest country in the world, and if we start acting like it and taking care of our people like it, and we start showing the rest of the world how it can be done, then we are setting an example that can be watched, and that can be followed, and that can be respected, and that our citizens will finally see the value in each other. It will change the very nature and fabric of America, but you guys are going to have to do the heavy lifting too. You can't say, oh, I love God, but then hang on to your greed. You can't say it around me. And if you're one of my friends and you know that's true about yourself, you never know when I'm going to call you out. You never know. I'm not doing it out of hate either. Know that much. I'm doing it out of truth, and I'm doing it out of love, and I'm doing it to show the truth of our time, because people say it's not true. They say, oh, well, that's not true. We're not dealing with that, or it's a great thing, or whatever. But let's talk about the real truth. And let's talk about people that can't live their truth. How many people have jobs and that because of your job, you can't even be the person you're meant to be because you feel so locked into a life? Folks, humanity is meant to be free and think free. We need our freedoms. It's so important. We need our freedom of speech all the way to every other freedom we could possibly have, and marry with that trust and love. And that is a life worth living. Not taking every last freedom away and demanding that we all live within the confines of a small corridor. That's not a life worth living. And so, folks, we got to work for that life worth living. It's not coming by itself. And we can't rely on our leaders that we currently have there to give it to us. So, like I said, I had recently just taken on another guest. And this is what I do. I help people. I changed the world in my own corner. That's all we can ever do. And we have to do that if we ever intend to make a difference. So I expect all of us doing this kind of stuff, and do as much as you can, especially also helping this campaign. And donate and get involved, because it's not going to do the work on its own. And this word doesn't get louder unless you help it get louder. It'll get louder because I'm doing a lot of hard work, and there's other people that are helping me get that hard work done. But you have a voice. You have an ability. Don't allow yourself to be counted out. I'm watching. Other people are watching. We are all in this together. Don't be one of those scaredy cats. And never forget, we're doing God's work. We do what we do. We do the right things. But we do it out of love. And we do it for the right reasons. That is how we serve God. It's a noble task. And for those who get to know it and feel it, and for those who actually get to experience it, they get that back tenfold. All right, folks. Next up, I want to introduce you to my house guest that I have recently just taken on. And this is exactly what life is about. We should all be doing this. And check it out. And I will be right back after this video plays. And just so you know, this is going to be the first part of it about the house guest. The second part of it is going to be last night's video, but I just made a little different spin on it. And I cut some parts out. It's much shorter. And I want you to just think about the parts that are playing, because they're so important. And we're touching on a lot of those things, and they're relevant to the conversation tonight. And so we're going to play that video up next. Look at you. You're just wandering around the world on your bike, working yourself into a frenzy, man. What's going on, my brother? Catch your breath. You okay? I love you, man.
I had a doctor walk me for about 8 days. I can't take it. This dude's killing me.
I hear you, brother. Seems like sometimes we're all dying slowly, man.
Look, we put our stuff in storage. We ain't got nowhere to go until we get our checks. We only got $20 left. So our name, we get food stamps next week. And it's been raining.
The hell just never stops.
So I only last week, so I said, keep put us up, work up there, we'll pay her. Just me and her. She's old.
Yeah.
She's 58. I turned 60. She's old.
Right.
We've been together for 14 years.
How long are a couple of days? 2 days?
No, maybe about a week. Because a week we'll get our food stamps on the 15th and we'll sell those. We can pay you or whatever, and then I'm gonna get some money next week too.
Right.
Yeah. And she's old. I can't. And I feel so sorry for her. Man.
I feel sorry for everybody. I feel sorry for me too. And I feel sorry for you. And the hell that everyone puts themselves through. I feel sorry for the multimillionaires who are so locked into this system they can't even get out of it.
We try to sit in the store as long as we can, but 9 o'clock they shut it, and then the timer goes on.
Yeah.
Man. One person has to work for me today, but then he told me he forgot he had to take his wife to the doctor, so he said come in the morning at 8:30. I'm tired as hell, man. Tired. You just don't know how tired I am.
I'm just trying to think how I can do this.
All we want to do is just lay down. We don't need no TV, nothing. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Man. We can go out. We won't be in your way. She can sit outside, walk around. She got her bike. That's the only thing we got is bicycles. She got her bike. Her bike is like a $200-some bike, a Miss Kitty. She got a lot for it.
You know, myself, I have no money right now. I can't get anything done, and I'm actually.
The only thing I got is $20. You
Yeah.
can have that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. We're in this hell together. Yeah, you could stay here, man, for a week. That's fine.
Okay.
Just help me out too.
Yeah, I help you out. Anything you want, bro.
We'll just work together like a family, like how humanity should be.
Gotta come back, she should be.
Yeah, but don't screw me over, man.
Well,
I've
I
been
would
screwed
never
over
do that,
too many
man.
times.
Oh, no.
You know, leaving a
You're the
week.
only friend I got.
I love you, brother.
You're the only friend I got.
We have enough shitheads. We don't need more of those.
That's right. Yeah, she's you see it. You're a little lady.
Yeah, man, we can't leave her on the streets. Of course we can. People do it all the time. But we can't. No, we can't. We can't.
She's just sitting up in the library now. Down there holding.
All right, go get her. Bring her home. We're going to be here for a week.
I gotta drink this one.
All right, that's fine. Take your time, man. We'll figure it out together. We always do. And you know what, man? I'm glad you came to me. It's okay. Just realize...
It's inside my
Because let's say, I don't think you'll change on me, Al. But
No,
damn,
no,
I didn't
no.
think anyone would change on me. You know why? Because it's hell out there and it's scary.
Yeah.
And so somebody that get cushiony in a
I'm the
situation...
most trustworthy person in the world.
You are.
Man.
You are, man. And I trust you to the bone. I trust myself to the bone. I'd make myself sign a damn contract.
I give you my ID.
It's just because it's too damn hard out there.
It's inside this shit. It's storage.
It's fine. Take your time. I'm not saying right now. I already told you, yeah.
Okay.
I love you, brother.
I gotta go.
All right, be safe. And I don't have extra keys for the door and stuff, but I'm always home. Yeah.
Once we inside, we just going to sleep.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. I'm an honest broker of truth, and I always listen to perpetual reason. Right now, we are in trying, critical, and distressing times. Everything from ill-related deaths to violence-related deaths, and human suffering can be greatly diminished, and life while alive can be greatly improved by simply giving value and purpose to each American. We know how grave our times are when untold millions are dying each year due to greedy people stuck in times long past and increasingly are responsible for a future not worthy of living. 40,000 deaths according to the New York Times, and that's by guns. And then opioids, you have even more. It literally starts with our greed, folks. It's so evil and so wrong. And when we say it's okay, even above humanity, even in this year, 2019, when so much is possible, it's just unconscionable. When life is so easily possible and preferred and more urgently required now than ever before. It's been caused by our current leadership. Let us not get so focused on revenge either. It's pointless. And virtually everybody are victims, and our only hope is to rebuild from the ashes a new life worthy of living, or die in the hell that we've created. For those of you who think that this is your only life, you of all people should want to make this the best you can be, so you should go with your happy healer, because that's exactly what we are going to do. Drug overdoses killed more than 72,000 people in the United States last year, and it's a deadly opioid epidemic. 72,287 people died just in 2017. Which is an increase in 10% from the year before. It's so problematic and scary to the human condition, yet one that gets right to the core of our human mission. With numbers these bad, it tells us several things. We have to make incremental changes, and that we have to stay consistent, and quite frankly, to ignore is the definition of insanity. And to recognize, and then yet to apply the wrong fix is even worse, because it's false hope in place of real hope, instead of giving proof to real hope and a reason to atone, which proves positive. The need and the essential changes long overdue. They must be made available to the American people so that they can become made aware. Because no one else is much talking about these grave times, that which we speak here. We need a world worth living in. For the death that we see, and the real life suffering, untold death, so much untold misery, the lack of health coverage. Humanity, all humanity, needs a safety net. They need a free, high quality, and technologically advanced medical and income for all, and education for all, that inspires millions to live out the purpose of life and the human journey. We sail on into the future in our times with a new sense of hope and purpose, and we inspire a nation to hope and greatness. Why is this needed? Have you also noticed the increasing number of new tragedies that are unique to our time, yet so many are blind to these alarming statistics that just continuously rise each year? We have to be better at this game called life. The numbers are right there, and if you clear your mind, and if you set a healthy mindset, it's easy to see so. And meant to change, to be otherwise, and yet to not even notice. And that's the time we live in, the time of death. All of these things matter, and getting used to these consequences are just not the way Americans need to be living. We're getting away from the way we need to be. We have to connect the dots. It's always greed, folks. We're corrupted by it. People, a pure soul can be corrupted by seeing the seriousness of our times, the greed. You gotta have the purpose and value and the truth, justice, and the American way to pull you out of that. It's gotta be love, and it's gotta be given by an honest broker of truth, and it's gotta be teaching that love never ends. That's why your happy healer's running for president, and that's what you have to compare the other candidates against. And unless you have done that, you have not been fair to our freedoms, our lives, and our future, let alone our country and our land. We have one future and one life. We better take care of it, or we will all pay that price. Future confessions in a past not met, or any other kinds of I told you so's, are cheap and only serve for an educational purpose, and often are way too late. And besides, I hate saying that anyway. We need to get to the work now and improve lives in real, measurable ways, accountable to the grave challenges rising all around us, yet not being dealt with. It's unfathomable. He said, let's roll. And that was capable of defeating the real threats then. We have to do it now too. If one can marry strong essential leadership characteristics coupled with a strong sense of faith in our future, answering to the true cause of human suffering and what's really holding us back, and if any of this is ever to have a shot of actually doing some good for the American people and solving problems, then we are going to need a leader that is strong, that's wise, intelligent, with a diverse perspective, ranging with a creative perspective of relatable Americans. I meet those in so many ways. I have such a diverse background, and that story will be unfolding more as this campaign progresses. And I've said it in the past. We have lots to go over, that's for sure. Not often does a candidate is seemingly built for the times to emerge to run, but yet I have so many factors that point to my run that this is the right thing for me to be doing in my life, and so therefore I really feel like I am living my fate in the moment, and that is serving a greater call than self-serving in these greatest times. And should we fail now, I know that truth because I have seen the truth so clearly. It's almost like I've seen it already. And we start teaching young, we never stop, and we provide for each other a $5,000 monthly allowance for a family of 4 and a head of households to get $2,500 per month stipend. We have to start with the most vulnerable first. After it's complete, then the entire population will be on this program, or will be benefiting in it in too numerous ways not to consider it. It'll change society and say life matters in a way that we have gifted back in our time to humanity the best, and gives to the most affected first. Those who are homeless and without jobs and underemployed or otherwise working thankless jobs. Doing so would be an immediate raise for those left working, and living conditions for everyone improve on day one and only get better as we go about the tough work and building our new society, a better one, a one that puts humanity first, above capitalism. We must make folks realize this is happening to benefit the human cause, which is suffering, and that this is the solution that we all seek and need, that we now found in the happy healer for president. That's why I tell you, vote Landi for Democrat. You have to get a true sense and purpose of human value, and you have to realize that professionals in various fields of studies, including doctors and scientists, have agreed that such an approach would allow perceived growth in difficult times, and it confronts evil and greed, making the possibility of unity in America but a guarantee. It's the only logical choice because it's the only way to get unified, and it's the only possible way Lady Liberty will ever see unity again, perhaps, before our what seems to be inevitable downfall, because unity is a required ingredient for every state to succeed. I say we have to usher in the great new technological age, where new technologies are taking over industry and robotics. Instead of putting people in factories, we can provide people their time back so they could work on humanity. Oh, yes, we can. That's why I'm running. I have the faith, I have the answers. It will set us free, and it is so simple. I will peel back that onion more and more in this campaign, and with it, a better understanding and a deeper appreciation of the task of our candidacy, but also our confidence in the answers that are best suitable for our times that just keeps rising. Let the best ideas win for America and for our lives. I am assured to open my heart in ways and show you who I am to my core, so that you can support your people's candidate for President of the United States precisely for the right reasons. because there is only one truth and only one candidate speaking to that truth. And so therefore, there is only one candidate so unrealistically and uniquely qualified and about it, and so many reasons too numerous to count. This will help save the environment when we get people off the roads, and when we get people an income for all, we give them back their time, and indeed it'll become a necessity to work on our humanity then and therefore. And we must get to work fast, folks, when we deal with the greed in our lives, which we have been making a main staple in this program lately, because we have to work on and fix our greed, and there is no better time than the present to do that in this show, which is measurable by our ability to take care of humanity in America. Acknowledge our shortcomings and limitations. Many people are dying in the streets without a place to live, and with their sustenance not met, with their body and health, and the very nature of time becoming less, and it's extinguished every day just like that. And it's persistent and commonplace. There are so many uninsured, like myself, who day in and day out are watching and seeing as though there is nothing they can do about it. And if they just had help, they can continue serving their God-given purpose and talent, their fate serving humanity. I want to change the life in humanity, and that's where I'm at. And there is no greater qualified candidate than your happy healer for president. We must now take a pledge. Show your support by signing up for the newsletter and create an account on the page and start donating. Get as many people as you can involved, and I'll be working each day for a future that we can all be proud of. I believe in my candidacy, and I believe I have this in the bag. And quite frankly, of all who are running and the president himself, nobody can offer us what we need, and that's why they are all disqualified. Teleportation, it already exists. It's not just theory, it's now fundamental science. And the Chinese are doing it, and they're working on quantum computing, which itself is, with artificial intelligence, a new industry. It's so powerful and strong, it'll bring a new industry. That science refers to as the singularity, which is no less a theory than any other probable theory. Well, the world is getting smarter and smarter, while America possesses the capacity to outdo them all. It's slowly moving like molasses in an area of national security, while China is moving so fast and so rapid, it's putting out 5G and electrical buses, while we're pulling people out of their homes and into factories when robots could be doing that work, and we could be better for it. They should be home and pursuing purpose that gives value to their human being. This adds value to the very human soul. And in so many ways, that alone has a monetary value. Humanity working for humanity and out of love is very powerful. And when you show you care, it opens the door for solving serious issues. However, one must be very pragmatic and have a clear sense. I do. And that is why I am most qualified to be your next president. Vote for your happy healer, Keith Landi, for President of the United States of America. And I will take great care of all of our families. My name is Keith Landi, for President of the United States. Get involved, do your part. Let's not have a reason to be sorry. Let's have a reason to be grateful. God bless you. God bless your families too. And may God bless these United States of America. Good night. That is awesome. So welcome back. It is live. Time now is 10:35 p.m. We've been on the air now for approximately a half an hour. And I want to say that I see you guys right here in the comments. And for those of you who want to speak up or have a question, you're welcome to. And my friend Thomas was actually talking about the teleportation and saying about how that was oddballish or maybe weird. It's truth. China, they can teleport. Now, it's only a minuscule amount of teleportation we're talking about here, but they can do it. America can't. They're working towards a better day, aren't they? They're working towards the future that we should be working towards, Thomas, but we're not. Instead, we're just so focused on the wrong things, on our civil war, man. We're so focused on that. We're so focused on hating each other and calling each other wrong in every aspect that we can, in every opportunity that we can, and showing our greed and our ugly hate. Well, I welcome you to call in. I'd love and gladly talk to you right on the air right now. So feel free, any of you who want to defend your greed, call into the show. Defend your greed to me. Call in. The number is on the website. You're welcome to do that. I would happily have you call into the show and you can defend your greed. I already know what it's about. I've lived that. I understand it. I understand its pitfalls. I understand how it leaves people behind and how many victims you make in order to get by in this world of greed, and that it's all legal. It's okay. Remember, Neil Paulson was a great example of that. $21.4 million, guys. $21.4 million, not just from anybody, but from our nation's warriors, from the veterans. He himself was a veteran. He used that as an ability to take advantage of other veterans. That's right. Neil only lives about 2.5 miles from me. This guy is a rich man, and he loves his money. Oh, you wouldn't know he's rich by the cars he drives and the way he lives his life, but this man has money, and he stole $21.4 million, of which he took from the veterans, and out of all of that, he pocketed after paying. He had to pay, get this, the people who were actually doing the calls out for him, the telemarketing company, they got the bulk of it. The people never got their money back. The only money that he had to pay back was the part that went into his pocket, was roughly $1 million, a little over $1 million. But the man was out there doing that. And trust me, I already know, and I will be speaking on this. I have my own beliefs. This guy is a much bigger crook than that. And when you see corruption like that in one area, you know in every other aspect of his life, he is trying to squeeze the dollar as hard as he can. And trust me, I've got the paperwork. I already know. I've done business with the guy. Okay, so I've done business with a lot of these guys that I'm talking about, so I know how they are. And I know how I operated my business. And it's hard to operate your business in an upstanding way, and that's the way I did. I always put my employees first. I knew that if things ultimately hit the fan, that the first that got paid were the employees in my view, because they're the ones who also oftenly get screwed by entrepreneurs, aren't they? Because that greed allows them to do it. But they were always the ones who I'd put first no matter what. If everything was going to hell in a handbasket, I made sure I took care of the employees, because they are just after that paycheck. They're part of America's slave workforce. You know, they have to do that daily grind. They don't get out of it, ever. They don't get a break. They don't get to live their fate at all. You know, they live their time in this life. Poor folks. They never get to see the most beautiful aspects of life, and then they die. And they never live their fate. That's what we don't have to have, Thomas. That is a tragedy. And if I have my way, that would be no more. And I wish that it was already that way now, because it would be so great. But that it's not, well, we can't just let these guys keep going and never give it to us. That's insanity. Because you know they'll do it. This greed is working very good for them. So that is, and I'm just looking at your different comments here, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of the supporters, and thank you for your support. Never be afraid to ask difficult questions. I'm always going to say things that trigger you just a bit, and that make you think, and that's great. We all need to be thinking. We all need to be touching those situations that are a little uncomfortable, that nobody else wants to talk about, just because we know it's the right thing to do and that it's not going away. You can't just ignore a problem away. All it does is get worse. So you have to actually deal with it, talk about it. Oh, and folks, I'm watching your comments. I realized that because I had turned the music down when I was sharing it out myself, and I was not able to, I didn't know that the music and the sound was blasting. It was almost, you couldn't even understand what was happening. I don't know if that's how it played on your end, but by the time I had come back to it, that's sort of what I had heard. So definitely keep your happy healer aware of these things through the comments as much as you can. But I'm a one-man band over here. Everything that you see going on, these are my talents, my ideas. It's the campaign, it's the media, and we're pushing through. We're breaking ground, because I've actually had to learn all of this media stuff a while back, and the fact that we're putting it into a useful concept with ideas that actually make sense, and that in a direction that is following a path, that is powerful stuff, folks. And the abilities that we have, we can really put these messages to work. I make no mistake that we're using as much of the media apparatus as we can in order to compete with the propaganda of the news media, in order to compete with the candidates that are just liars mostly. I mean, these guys spend, a candidate in America running for president spends over 50% of their time going to junkets for fundraisers and things like this, they are not out talking to voters at all. They're talking to money. That's not what I'm doing. I find it very boring. And I find it awful. But I'm going to have to do that too, I guess. And we'll get our supporters, people that agree with this. But folks, this is a ground movement kind of thing. You guys have to be involved in this. You don't think these big, deep pockets are going to invest in that, do you? Let me tell you about these other candidates. I don't know how many of you guys are giving Donald Trump money. I know many of you are, and giving some of these other candidates money, but they rely on very deep pockets from very few individuals, and when they do that, they have to answer to those folks. That's not free. It's not free. Trust me, in this greedy world, nothing like that comes free. So if you're doing it for the right reasons, then you know who you need to count on, the American people. And if you're sending the right people up there, you're sending people that are just like you. You're not sending these people who are answering to their greed and to their ambitions. And they never have a moment to actually talk to the truths of our time. So instead what happens is they're full of lies, they're full of BS, and they get nowhere. And we all get nowhere in a real hurry. It's so sad. We're not going to do that here. We're just going to stay on point, Thomas. And to all the viewers, we're just going to stay on point. And we'll always be that way. We'll always have a vision and a direction for our campaign. And it's always going to be about the people and about your children. And I even say about your parents. My parents are gone. My mother and father, they both died young. They were great people too, but they had no health care. That's what happens when you have no health care. Their needs weren't met, so they found themselves out every day trying to just make it to the next day. Do you know how dangerous of a lifestyle that is? Let me tell you, it's not about because you're doing anything bad. It's just because you're on the roads running. When you run that hard just to stay alive, bad things happen. You get into car wrecks, you're out where you don't belong, and you're trying to make ends meet. And that's what America is for so many people. And these people, they have no asylum. They can't go claim to some other country, and definitely not no other third world country. And nor can they go to any other country and say, well, I'm from America and I can't make ends meet over there. They're just such a greedy nation and there's no place for love. Love don't pay so well in America. Those people end up on the streets and die. No, just as soon they bring people from outside the country and they set them up. When you bring an immigrant here, it's not free for American taxpayers. Each and every immigrant, that's a very expensive investment. A lot of times they have to be set up in a house or a home of some sort, especially if they're claiming asylum, and they need money to survive, and they need job placement, and they need training, and they need health care, and they need health care for their kids, and their kids need schooling. In the meantime, we have Americans that are on the streets dying with nothing, and they're homeless. And it's just okay. And people like Ray Land, my friend, who I love dearly, is one of these people who just say, we'll just look the other way. It's okay. Because we're going to do our business, and we operate life responsible because we're responsible adults. And responsible adults only need to worry about themselves, nobody else. No, that's not how it works. And I don't buy the idea that we're all self-made. You see, because I built the business and I know that my business would have been zero if I didn't have good people. Yeah, it takes good leadership, but it also takes, it takes an insight and understanding. And that's what makes me a great candidate, because I have that insight. I know what it's like to run a business, what it's like to maintain a payroll, what it's like to maintain all of the aspects of running a small business in America. That is so much more admirable and so much more challenging than even running these big Fortune 500 companies where they have all the extras that are not available to a smaller business, often operating in monopolies where smaller businesses don't even have a chance. The entrepreneur in this country is at their freedom. They're just trying to get their time back. So in order to do that, they have to swallow up the times of many other people, ultimately speaking. And then later they say they're self-made. That's not fair, folks. Entrepreneurs, that's not fair. And you know it. You know that's not fair. You didn't build anything on your own. It was your ideas. And you're the greatest aspect to it. But you know what? Give your employees some credit. and let's start taking care of people. And we can do so much better. We can actually go into this future. You can have your greed. Go have your money. Nobody wants it, okay? We're going to build a whole new value in America. Don't be so afraid of it. When they actually took care of the crisis 2008, you didn't see any runaway inflation. And right now, if you go to the website, you'll see that Donald Trump is actually talking about, on purpose, lowering the value of the dollar because of this trade war with China. Well, China's not too worried because they're working towards the singularity. They're working towards a technological future that we are forsaking. So they will have that, and then we'll be without. And the day that they have the ability, especially in this world where they're in this trade war with America, a trade war is a war. It's a war. Make no mistake, you might act like friends and people might not be dying the same way, and it might be a little bit more of a friendly war, but it's a war. And trade wars, a lot of times also, they become even bigger. They become real wars, right? Or dying wars. They are a real war, but they become wars where people die. And it happens. A lot of times, trade war, or you can even say sanctions, those are the opening kind of follies in general war. You know, America itself is in a civil war. The last thing it needs is a general war with an outside aggressor or partner of any sort. But we do need to address these things. I actually do support Donald Trump in the fact that he is trying to get a more fair deal for America. And just like we have to have the courage to do the right things, we also have to be very careful in how we go about doing it. It has to be about what is fair. We can't go and say, oh, well, we're doing the right thing based on this over here, but then we're going to screw the people over here, and that's just okay because that's the way we've always done things. And that Donald Trump, he's taken away food stamps from people who need them. He's taken away benefits that people need because he's the president, and Trump economics is all about numbers without heart. And that's sad because there's some people who need it and they don't have it. So incredibly sad. So we have to be there for people. We can't just do the talking but not do the walking. That's cheap talk. And I'll be very quick to tell you it's bullshit. So put me up there with your other condescending candidates. I am not one, but we do know Donald Trump is one. But all the other ones, the Democrats, put me up there with them. And I will let them know who and what they are and why they should not win. And I'll be able to do that in front of all the American people. We'll make very quick progress and we will do the hard work. But we need to have people who stand tough with this campaign now. We can't have people that, oh, well, we're just kind of sitting on the sidelines to see what happens. Because let me tell you about you folks. You're going to be there also when times get great. But I don't need you then. But I'll remember you. And I'll also remember the people who were there that was helpful. And that's not a threat. It's just to say, you actually want to be a part of something great, not something ugly. You want to be a part of the beginning part of it. You want to be the part that made it possible. Okay? Think about that for a moment. And many of you want to be that. But some of you are just hanging out, waiting. Well, is this possible? Is this for real? Yes, it's for real. I have put life and blood and effort into this. Other people have done that. We've been doing it for so long. In the beginning, some people came out and said, oh, well, it's just, running for president is how you make an income these days. And things like that. Awful, awful things. And it's like, well, if 4 months of working so hard for so little doesn't prove exactly where we're coming from in this campaign, as if we had to. We're already doing the right things, as if we had to. The other candidates aren't up against that. You give condescending gay Pete man, you give him $20 million right off the bat. And I haven't seen any leadership from him or ideas that are going to make our lives better. And I'm sorry, just looking at the gay man for the sake of seeing a gay man does not turn me on, not in the least. It's ugly. While people are suffering. They're just suffering every turn. And now they have war. A war within their country and a war on the outside too. With China in this trade war. So we just have to realize what we're getting ourselves into. The class warfare in this country is another thing. It's disgusting. I live to show the mirror of truth of their ugliness and their condescending ways to the people they perceive to be beneath them. Why do they do that? I will never understand for the life of me. I couldn't do it. It's not in me. And I know it's not in many of you. And I'm not saying when I make blanket truths, they're just truths that we all have to bear the brunt of. We just have to know how true they are. And then we can stand to fix them. And these people, they operate off of one single word, folks. Greed. It allows them to justify the suffering. So, like I said, I've had so many friends in the bus industry that I've seen that they're tough working people. And I've seen people who started their companies as just one bus and grow it all the way up to many buses. And then I've seen people like Land. And I said he'd be in the show tonight. And this is an individual, he's a nice guy, I'll be honest. But it doesn't matter if you're a nice guy. You could be a nice guy and still be condescending to others. So nice, you don't matter. So nice. You see your friend over here, he used to be somebody when he had a pink account, but now you don't matter. It's not right. We have to get away from that. People do matter, right? People matter. And you have to realize that, sir. We are all in this hell together. And the fact that you show in your actions that people don't matter, it's like saying they're subhuman. You have to wear that shame, sir. We have to wear that shame together, actually. All of us. As long as we just keep allowing it to happen and not speaking up, we have to just call it out when we see it, and we have to be so honest about its ugliness. It's wrong. And I say, if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Right, you prove me wrong, sir. Come to the conversation. Doubt you will, because you're better than us. We're just so wrong. That's why we have to grow big, folks, because we know we're right. But that's what the condescending do. They just take away, they say, okay, that's not me, and they just walk away, I don't care, or whatever. They don't mind turning the cheek, and by the way, when I turn the cheek, it's because you smacked me on this side, and I say, okay, now get this side too. When they turn the cheek, it's just because they're walking away from you. Okay? We can't have that. It's what's causing the hell in our lives. And they act like they're not doing anything, but gosh, doesn't it feel like such an attack? Doesn't it though? Because it is. Their ignorance, their blissful ignorance is killing all of us, little by little, every day. That's why we have to stop it. And we have to call it out. We have to be brave in that. And we have to remind people we love them. We're not coming from a place of hate. Do we dislike these actions? We can almost even say we hate the actions. I hate using the word hate at all. And the fact is, though, we do. We don't like those actions. They're so ugly. So, and I've said, some of your most handsome and beautiful people in this world, they can be so beautiful on the outside, but still yet so ugly on the inside. And so many people, they use even every asset they have, they use it for greed. If you're a beautiful person in this world, in America, you use it for greed. We have to get away from that, and then we'll have a better life. Folks, God is great, okay? God is great. And He's given us the tools to have a great life. We can all virtually have our tooth care. I don't have to have this snaggle tooth. We can all have a greater life. We can have the health care. We can have an income for all. And we can have a greater citizenry because of it. People can be happier. And that allows us all to be happier. And we can have more freedoms because of it, because there'll be less shootings and less things like that. We never even had to go into that. We never even had to experience that had we done this hard work already. But we had allowed greed to take too hard of a bite out of us. And just like my friend from last evening had told me, the gentleman who I had met that was interested in transportation services, this guy, he said that our greed is just an innate part of our human condition. and that we can't get away from it because it's just part of our human condition. Well, then we need to work on it, don't we? And I know that. And that's why it's a compromise. And that's why we ultimately aren't even trying to throw capitalism out. Capitalism is based on greed. But we have to serve humanity in that. So if you want to save humanity from the masses who are coming after it, save capitalism and humanity by doing so, then you need to put humanity over capitalism. That's why it's so important. Hey, Brian, how's it going? It's great to see you. It's good to see you, Chris. Love you guys. Love everybody here. You guys are all so wonderful. And Ray, if you stopped in, I love you too, brother. All of you guys are just so great. We can do so much better. Get involved. Don't be creeps. Help when you can. $5 is a donation. You know what it tells me? It tells me you care. It tells me you care. So many people, they're donating to their condescending choice candidate, but they don't donate to this. But they like to listen and watch and follow through. Hey, no. You should donate then, because you know it's the right thing to do. And that we're a campaign stepping up. And that's why I don't want to hear about later on, oh, well, now you're doing great. Now we want to be a part of it. That's how humanity is. And that all feeds into the same, you're like somebody who just knows how to follow. We need to be leaders in this. We need to be aggressive for what is right. And then we'll make progress. And we will make progress. You watch. Because I am not working off the same thing these other guys are working. And that's why when I walk into the debate stage, I don't have those nerves that those other guys are working on, because I'm working on the truth and I'm working on love for God. And I know that, well, they look at me as beneath them. So to me, they just cease to matter as soon as they do that, don't they? Why should they matter? They hate me. They think of me as being a subhuman being. And they think of all my supporters that believe and think like that as such, and that we're wrong. They are wrong. And we're not trying to hurt them like they are us. We're not vindictive like that. And I always say, we're not looking for revenge either. That's not the name of the game, and it's a dead end game anyway. You don't win like that. If anything, this country needs so much clemency. This whole system is screwed up. Even the millionaires, I remind people, they too are victims to the system. Because when you're invested in it to that level, it's hard to get out mentally and in every other way. And you have employees counting on you for their livelihood. The whole system counts on that. So you can't demonize these folks, really. It's not completely fair, I will say. But we can't ignore the death and the dying and the destruction and the hardships that people are facing. And it's happening all the time. It's commonplace. It's ugly and it's disgusting, and it's actually uncalled for. It doesn't need to be that way. So we're going to change it. Well, folks, that's it for this show. I'm going to have a lot more stuff coming out very soon. We just had a show last evening. I really think it's worth your time to go check it out. We've been putting out so much great material. I want to tell you that we're going down a different road. Moving forward, we have so many things that you could not even imagine. Still touching on greed, still touching on a lot of the things that are so important to the campaign. That stuff will always be important to the campaign because it's just the truth of our time. It's dictating everything in our life. It's sad that that's the truth. But we can fix it. If we use our minds and we use our power together, that power is our heart. That power is our love for each other, the love for God. Realize the love is what brings people back. You can say whatever you want, but you know ultimately you love. And you're humble. You know, I feel bad. Sometimes I call people out and I'm like, gosh, you got to just call out the examples that show true to the times. But you also say, these people aren't bad. They're victims too. So Ray, I'm sorry. You, sir, are a victim. Stop treating people like they're beneath you and we'll be just fine. And everybody else, stop doing that and we'll be just fine. Everybody start doing the right things, treating people like they matter with dignity, and we'll be just fine. Folks, we will see you later. God bless you, and God bless this great country of ours too. God bless all your families. And I promised you one last thing, a prayer for our Lord above, because we are operating on His energy. This is the work we do for each other, is the work we are doing for our Creator. That is the work we do for each other. He wants us to have a great life. Or she. Same difference. Dear Heavenly Father, please watch after all humanity in this world. They're going through so much at this time, but especially for my cause as running for President of the United States in this mission to raise humanity in America. Watch after our cause. We'll show your mission in the best of light. Watch after the people. Help show them the truth. Watch after people that think they're better than others, who don't have the time for people that they think are beneath them. Watch out for their views. Help show them just how awful that is, so that the burden on us, who are just trying to show the love and raise our country, have an easier time doing it. And continue to provide for the people of this country, and continue to provide for our children and provide opportunities. There's so many people that are suffering in this country, that are hungry, that are on the streets, and there's no reason for it. And oh Lord, help our citizenry, our fellow citizens, especially the Democrats who are on the left. They don't realize, many of them that are doing well can't see the burden that the rest of us are holding that are not doing so well. And they think that the right choice is a political choice to bring people in from other countries, and that's going to make everything better. No, it won't. We need to stand up as Americans and do right for ourselves. We need to set an example, an America that's worth coming to, where people aren't dying. Oh Lord, we know this is a worthy cause, and we ask in your name that you follow us, and you follow this message, and you follow it to the people, and that you help them see the truth in this message, and you continue to give the strength to each one of us to carry on, even in the face of adversity. We shall. Amen. All right, folks, that's it for this 8th day of August. I shall see you soon. God bless.